What's going on, guys? Welcome back to LOY TV, and it is a very, very
Somber. Okay.
somber. Yeah, I'm looking for the right words. To be honest, somber atmosphere. As we just watched 90 minutes of pretty god awful game. Ireland 0, Luxembourg 1. I don't know who wants to jump in first, but it's kind of. I said we'd do it like a little bit after the game just to try and gather our thoughts, maybe. But I'm coming up with nothing here, really, to be honest.
I like can't even put it into words. Like I'm feeling like it's just. I think we're all just in shock more than anything. Like before that game, like after the Serbia performance, like I know we lost, but like fucking hell, like the thought of actually losing a game like this was just out of my mind.
Yeah,
This is just one of the worst performances I've ever seen in my lifetime. Like just one of the worst results, definitely. Like I'm absolutely like, baffled by it. Like just can't believe and the fact that Serbia got a result as well, like I mean, we'd already pretty much got no chance anyway. But Serbia getting a result as well, we can't get through a cup pretty much unless we somehow fucking take 4 points from Portugal or something like that. Like
I think we can write off going to World Cup.
do you know what I mean? It's just shocking. Like it's miserable. Like I don't know what the words for it. Like
pretty much everything what Tyke said there. Like I don't know whether to laugh or cry. Like I've no words to. And Seamus Coleman didn't either. Like Tony O'Donoghue was asking him, and Coleman and Stephen Kenny kind of came up with very limited, like just not good enough. Didn't play with pride in the shirt. No intensity on the ball. But to be, I don't know what to say, to be honest.
Yeah. Breen or Liam want to hop in?
I think it's important to, before we talk about how poor Ireland were tonight in certain departments, to say Luxembourg were very good in the context of Luxembourg. I don't mean to say, I'm not trying to be an apologist here for how Ireland played, but like I think there was a kind of sense, a little bit of complacency in Ireland, fans kind of gone, right, well, we'll get the much needed win and a good performance here without actually really taking into account that Luxembourg are still a side that we had to actually go out and beat. And they were good on the ball. They were really, really compact and they worked as a unit fantastically. And then beyond that, I just really thought that they deserved their win, and they took their chances. I mean,
they absolutely deserved to win the game 100%. As well, yeah.
And there was a little tiny bit that really summed it up for me. Was it was near the end, and the ball was in their right back position, and he was kind of shadowing the ball out, and he had McLean behind him, and it's very easy in that moment to kind of panic a little bit. They're 1-0 up away from home, would have been a massive result for them. And he waited, and then as soon as McLean made his move, he just calmly turned him and played the ball back out, and they moved on.
Yeah.
That was really, really good. But from our perspective, I would be lying to you if I said I'm surprised. I'm genuinely not that surprised we've lost tonight. Not because of everything that's gone before, but this is an indictment of 20 years of mismanagement in Irish football. I just said to use off air that I think Cyprus was worse because we had a better team then, and San Marino was nearly worse because we had a better team then. But this is the fruit of our labour for the last 20 years, and it just hasn't been good enough. On and off the pitch, it just hasn't been good enough. I have some notes here, and it's like we failed to qualify for 7 of the last 9 tournaments, and the 2 tournaments we did qualify for, got pretty lucky in the Euro 2012 group campaign that no one really wanted to take the initiative when we kept handing it to them. And then we got drawn against a really poor Estonia side. And then in 2016, we had a good result against Germany, and that kind of papered over the cracks that Scotland completely bottled it. And we beat a good Bosnia team in fairness, and that was a good result. And then in the tournament itself, probably played quite well against Sweden in the first half, didn't play well against Belgium, played against an Italy side who were already thinking about the next game, and then went to France, the France game, and gave a good account of ourselves. But in the last 10 years, in competitive games at home, we've only beaten Gibraltar a couple of times, Georgia a couple of times, Moldova, Kazakhstan, the Faroe Islands, Armenia, and Bosnia and Germany. And that's the level that we're at. And we need to accept that this is where we are, and we're here because of the mismanagement of Irish football for 20 years.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. Like as everyone was saying, it's like earlier on I was on Paddy Power, whatever. I was like, Surely Luxembourg.
That's all good. Nice start.
You know what I mean? But then Luxembourg they did very well. Like they deserved to win, as we were saying there. But then again, it's just I don't even know where to start because looking at the game, we didn't create chances. We were playing sideways football. We played most of the possession we had was in our own half. We didn't play forward balls. And then when we did create anything, it was kind of like we were going back to the old style of football, just put it in the box, kind of hoping someone gets on something. You know what I mean? And it's very disheartening, unfortunately.
Even the basics, especially the first half, like the amount. About a half an hour in, I said to myself, Alan Brown's given the ball away at least like 5 or 6 times.
Just terrible
just passed it out of play or to a Luxembourg player. On the ball, the basic skills the footballer needs to play the game. Like we just lacked in every department. We created the Collins chance was probably our best of the game. Other than that, maybe 2 or 3 half chances. Luxembourg, I think they had 4 shots on Bazunu. We only had like 1. Luxembourg were everything we weren't. They were compact. They were really well organized. Defended really well. Transitioned the ball really well. And then in the second half brought a few players on. Who came on? Brady. I can't even remember at this stage. But you were just waiting for the spark or something to click and say, oh, we'll get a good period of possession now. We'll put on a bit of pressure, try create something, and it just never came. I think they got their half chance and they took it, and that was it then.
I think like a lot of the argument is that like we don't have the players, quality of our players isn't there. But I mean, look at their team. Like, where's the quality in their players? Like their captain doesn't get a game in the Belgian league. We had Josh Cullen who only get into the squad for the first time, and he plays every week for Anderlecht. Like, we've Premier League footballers playing at the back. Like, I that's why I'm shocked. Like, our team is infinitely better than theirs, and I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's the way we're playing. It doesn't work for us because I think I've been saying for a while, like there is games that I think Mick McCarthy would have got results in. Definitely in the Nations League and against Slovakia away, I definitely think we could have got a result. At the end of the day, international football isn't a thing. You don't have time to get results in these games. Fair enough, the Nations League, those are glorified friendlies. Like you could have taken it like his start to the season was against Serbia. Okay performance, but this is just a shocking result. Like, and you can't recover from this in this campaign. And like, I all this thing move on to the next campaign. It's like no, like we should be trying to qualify for World Cups. Like we should have more ambition than leave and hopefully we're better next time. Like, what if we're not? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's so disheartening to watch. Like,
it is. I get where you're coming from. It is one where I'm kind of torn on it a bit because I do. There's a huge point to be made. Yeah, there's a huge point to be made for what. I don't think there should be any talk of getting rid of Kenny. Like he deserves the whole campaign to get it going, and it is disheartening nights like this, especially on the night of. It's going to feel emotional, and it is gutting, but like. Yeah, like it's one of those where long term, 10 years down the line, will we be in a better place after maybe if Kenny is like a transitional manager potentially, and then like we get another kind of progressive manager in after him, maybe we will see good performances and we'll start qualifying for tournaments instead of kind of maybe going back for like a short term fix every time. So it is, a Mick McCarthy or Martin O'Neill, maybe they would have got a result tonight without a shadow of a doubt, probably, but. It is one of those where it's just you do kind of feel torn on it a little bit.
I agree with Tyke's point, and I agree with your point there. Like, I mean, I said it the other night that yes, short-term fixes will probably get us results, but then we're just left in the same position, the same boom to bust, or not even a boom to bust cycle. As I said, we've only qualified for 2 of the last 9 tournaments. I mean, and probably going to be 2 of the last 10. But this is the pain that we're going to have to go through, unfortunately, to get to somewhere where we can say, right, we're actually in a position to compete. One of the problems with the previous kind of 2 eras, the short McCarthy era and the O'Neill era, was they didn't blood in enough youngsters. So there's this huge age gap between the young players and the rest of the squad, that we have no real players who are kind of 24, 25, 26, 27. It goes from maybe 23 and a little bit younger up to 30. And then we just don't have those players. So we are probably going to be waiting. We might get lucky in 2024 because of the way the amount of teams are in the tournament. But I think realistically, as I said the other day, this campaign is going to be painful, but we have to try and see the long-term good of that. The likes of Cullen, the likes of Alumbi, and the likes of Bazunu even getting in the side today is good for our long-term benefit, even if it's really, really shit in the short term.
I think I agree with Richie Sadlier on second captains last week on RT before the game. Like, before the Serbia game, you could say that we had slim to no chance of qualifying for the World Cup. I probably agree with him there. Like, you were just dependent on Serbia. Portugal won, Serbia 2, and you were just hoping for Serbia to slip up, and we couldn't afford any slip ups then if we were to get to second place. So, like, I know we won't really go into it, but Kenny's job won't depend on if we will get to the World Cup or not, because that was slim to no chance to begin with. His job will depend on if there's clear progression and clear improvement and a clear pathway from now until the end of the campaign. And by the end of the campaign, you can make a decision then. But going off the last 10 games, you could say there's no improvement. You could
Have you gone backwards? Have you gone backwards?
Probably regressed, yeah. So he's ahead to fucking, like, the last thing you want to do is go to fucking, Budapest for a friendly with Qatar. Like, last thing you want to do. And then it's 6 months then until we play Portugal away. So he's a hell of a job.
Could you imagine what's going to happen to us in that if we're playing like we did tonight?
He's a hell of a job.
Absolutely
close. Yeah, it's hard to see where we go from here.
For me,
sorry,
Ray.
Go on.
For me,
No,
personally, I think I'm actually very worried that the players have they're a bit unsure on like how this is going to go, and they're kind of like I feel like there's a divide in camp. There just feels like something like some of the players don't really trust the process because they're not getting that. Like, you think surely everyone would have thought we beat Luxembourg. We were all like, oh sure, like this was going to be the kickstart. It's kind of his era really, and to me it is a bit of a worry. Like, Seamus came out, did very, very well, and like obviously said it's very embarrassing and stuff. But to me, it just seems like there's a bit of a divide, and like players in this age kind of seem to throw managers under the bus. So that's why I'm a bit worried that Kenny won't get the time.
Yeah, interesting comments
Do you really
here.
think
Just
that we've-
on that.
Sorry.
The young lads can cope with it, so well plays. The senior lads struggling, kind of touching on the maybe a possible divide in the camp as you're touching on. Maybe not a divide in the camp, but maybe just some players buying into the style play more than others, kind of thing. What were you saying, Breen?
Yeah.
I said, like, to Socko's point there, like, do you really think we've regressed in the kind of, like, I see it tonight, the style and the system we played was easier on the eye, even if we've lost the game. You know, previously when we've gone and lost games, yes, McCarthy and O'Neill dug out results and got us to tournaments, but we're here now because of that. Is that not fair enough?
Yeah, just so, like, my point of view, like, barring the Slovakia game, we've only seen glimpses so far, like really slim glimpses, and you can compensate for that if you pick up a result against Finland or a result, especially tonight. We're just going off the last 10 games. It's been slim glimpses. The young players, don't get me wrong, he's brought through 11, 12 underage players, more than any other manager we've ever seen before. Don't get me wrong there.
Kind of out of necessity as well in terms of the injuries and COVID stuff. He's had to deal with a little bit as well.
But like, tonight would have just capped it off brilliantly. But we've only seen slim glimpses so far. You're just hoping for a little bit more than that, you know.
Yeah,
I think at the end of the day, there's going to be a limit to how much we can progress. Like, we're never going to have a pool of players available to us that we're going to be a good footballing nation. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're always going to be that team that's kind of on the edge. Like, I don't think we're ever going to be someone who's guaranteed to come second with the pool of players we're ever going to have. Like,
I suppose that's what we're kind of working
it.
towards is working towards getting that pool of players where we can play attractive football and be in the question like Wales, and Wales kind of aren't nearly outside like that where they are challenging for that second spot realistically.
Like even if you look back, Trapattoni even said years ago, Ireland just don't have the players to play that fancy football. You know what I mean? And obviously there's the likes of Malumbi, Ida, Parrott coming through, and it's just about getting that mix really. But them players like Hendrick, Coleman, they're all coming to the end of their careers. Like do they really still have the fight to put on the green jersey? You know what I mean? Like obviously, I actually think James McLean is coming to the end of his career, but he's one I just love. He gives it his all every time he goes out to wear that jersey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
he was shocking when he came on.
Yeah, he was poor, but that's a fair point. But the point you just made there about Trapattoni when he came in, I was actually thinking about that during the game because I thought, oh God, if they sack Kenny, who are they going to bring in? At least if the players play well, a manager could come in next and say, oh, these players can actually play okay football. But the idea that we're never going to have these players that can do this, or where we don't have the players currently, I don't think we do currently have the players, but going forward, if it's a constantly repeated two young players in the media, in coaching, and in the public, that, well, we don't have the players, you'll start to believe that. Because I watched the 21s yesterday, and I'm sure some of you did, and like some of the football they played was excellent. Yeah, they got a bit lucky with the second goal, and they ultimately got the win. But the first goal was a phenomenal move, and it came from a bit of adventure shown by Conor Noss, and that's what we're really lacking. That's what really lacked tonight. We played okay in defence. We played okay in midfield. As soon as it went into that attacking third, we just didn't have anything. We had no creativity, and we had
no ideas going forward. Yeah.
That for me is the main issue, is that we don't look like we're going to score goals.
Yeah.
Like having the likes of someone like Collins up top is fine if you're going to put 6-7 balls into the box that are challengeable for. But we just once we get to him, 1, 2, you try to pull his best Ibrahimovic impression.
Yeah, he did well. That one,
like that was you could barely call that a chance. Like he literally got one ball out of the box.
Yeah, because he is not a striker.
You can't play football really on his feet. Like
no, he's so slow and stuff. Like
he wins a couple of fouls, but like the chance creation was just shocking. Like
because he's the type of striker he needs service. Like he's not going to create anything. Like so, it wasn't really down to him tonight. I don't think. But
it's interesting what Coleman said about players. Like the one thing he kept repeating was that players weren't coming and looking for the ball. So I think that's kind of what leading on from because Paul's comment there, that like some players aren't buying into it and come and look for the ball, trying to play football and stuff like that, and some are. Do you know what I mean? Because he was saying, I think like that you'd have the ball on one side and there wasn't people on the other side of the pitch looking for him in space and stuff like that. They were just kind of going through the motions and stuff like that. And it's interesting to think about who those kind of players are. I think Robinson might be one of them. Collins, I mean, he's probably not that kind of player, so it's never really going to happen for him. But yeah, I think
it's a new system as well. I don't know why we went through all the pain last year of playing the 4-3-3, and then changing up the system for the qualifiers. Then I kind of get why it was done, and I've been calling out for that as well. But it would have made more sense to go with this system then if this is in his head, and play the Nations League games with it and get used to it instead of starting something fresh with only a couple of days to work on it ahead of 2 huge World Cup qualifiers. So in hindsight, it's obviously a great thing, but it does kind of raise questions of why change the system that we stuck with for 10 games, went through all that pain, and then change it all up. I don't know. It doesn't make too much sense, I don't think. But any thoughts?
That point I made there about that Coleman saying no one's coming looking playing the ball or coming short looking for the ball. It's like you look at say Conor Ronan or even Conor Noss yesterday. The one thing that impressed me so much about Conor Noss yesterday was he was always willing and available to drop into a pocket of space to get the ball, and then when he needed to, and inject a little bit of energy, like for the Afolabi goal, he did, and that's exactly the kind of player. And I'm not saying I don't know if Conor Noss is going to develop into that exact player for Ireland, but that's the kind of thing that we're looking for. That if we do have someone within the system like Conor Noss, who's playing a Champions League side in Mönchengladbach, if he can break into the side, that's really, really positive. So I know I'm being a bit clutching at straws here, but tonight was shit. But in the long term, I think this system works, and the players have to believe it. And if they don't, goodbye. And the idea that, like, say, Collins and McLean, they always put in a shift, that's not good enough anymore. We need them to actually play football. And Alan Brown was the perfect example. Like, got into all the right positions, but he can't kick a football, it seems, which is
I thought it was really poor tonight. Yeah, really poor.
Jeff Hendrick impression.
Yeah,
giving the ball away every time he's trying to go forward. Like,
because even when Robbie Brady came on, like one of the balls put into the box was superb, like a really good ball, and it raised a question of why he maybe didn't start the game over an Alan Brown, just to give us, because in the final third he's probably one of our better players, and I thought maybe that was like the one thing with the starting 11. Maybe Collins substituted this, maybe a Long would have been better from the start, but I think Brady was the main one for me. I would have liked to have seen him in over Brown. I think
that just was the at the start of the game they were saying, I remember right on the whistle, they said this is a huge night for Alan Brown. He had a brilliant performance against Serbia on Wednesday, and he has to really take his chance now, put in that number 10 role. It's a big night for him, and like it couldn't have been worse, I don't think. So in hindsight, you could say like I would have played Brady. That's what I was trying to think. The guy he brought Brady on for Brown, I think.
No, he left Brown on, put him right wing back. Was
right wing back.
He went off injured. Yeah, shot.
But in hindsight, it's easy to say that. But he put Brown in because he was probably more.
I thought his goal papered over the cracks a bit on his performance.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Exactly. Definitely, I think him scoring that goal is probably the worst thing that could have happened for us. Like, because he was not that good. He was giving the ball away a good bit. Like, and like you have to look at that Serbia performance. Like, they really did not show up. Bar Mitrovic when he came off the bench, and like that one flick on they got.
Yeah.
Looking at a few comments. Sorry.
No, there is valid criticism of Stephen Kenny tonight. In fairness, some of the decisions and the substitutes were a little strange, and that's fine. You can criticize the manager in that regard, but I think people calling for him to leave or whatnot, it's too short-sighted.
Yeah, I think definitely. There's no point in it now anyway, because it's not going to change anything. You might as well give him at least a couple of games. I can understand maybe giving someone the job for the last few games, just kind of see how they work out or something like that. But either way, there's no point doing it and making a decision now. Like,
comment from Adam Doyle. Feels like weird that I'm saying this, but I think Kenny should go, and it's not because he's a bad manager. It's because he's trying to play good football with a bad squad.
That feeds into the vicious cycle of, we'll just continue to play bad football with bad players and hope it gets us over the line. But that's just clearly not been working really for the last 20 years.
There is a lot of Irish players as well that just aren't getting minutes in the club. Like, you know what I mean? And that's so important, because then you obviously bring that confidence and your fitness coming in then.
The sharpness wasn't there at all, wasn't it? I don't think.
And again, there's that new rule that's coming in England that like you can't sign if you're a youngster, you can't sign to an academy or something like that. That could probably benefit Irish players, so they could do like a Josh Cullen and go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, go to Belgium or something like that. And Brexit as well. Absolutely. Just stop people from going to England where they're just not going to get a look in, because the quality over there is just ridiculous.
Well, there is agencies like European football agencies that are setting up in Ireland now, because they're going, this is a massive market that previously was just kind of dominated by English clubs coming over and raiding the best young players here, see how it works out. So, and maybe Irish players going over there didn't have the skill set that suited the English game. So maybe like Irish players going to Spain, they'll say, oh, he's actually, the likes of Wes Hoolahan probably would have been lauded in somewhere like Spain for many years as a youngster, whereas when he was in Ireland and England and a little bit, I think he was in Scotland as well, he didn't really suit until that kind of play became into style in 2009, 2010 with Barcelona.
Yeah, for sure. People saying people underestimate Luxembourg. We should win, but they're levels above the likes of San Marino or Andorra. And someone else saying they drew with France, I think, was it, in their last qualifying
game as well against France. Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, they've definitely improved. They're definitely not a really bad side, but I mean, they're probably they might be at our level now. You know, we're a bad side, and they're a bad side as well, and they beat us.
It's their fourth competitive away win in 125 attempts. So I think that's just sums up.
I mean, at the end of the day, I suppose there is no point in history, but they are reasonably they should be beating them. Like, I don't think it's unfair to say that we should 100% be winning that game. Like, every single campaign we play. Like,
before the game, like a point would be a disaster. Like, never thought we'd be in this position, to be honest.
I thought a point tonight was going to ride us off. So a loss, done for like.
Especially with Serbia getting that result, like you could hope maybe they lost away in Azerbaijan or something like that. And we picked up some good results and then maybe beat them at home, but them getting a draw against Portugal is basically just completely thrown out the window. Like we're gonna have to get a result against them and hope that Serbia lose. Like it's just ridiculous. Like if we think we're gonna get a result against Portugal,
I
think
can't see us getting a result in bleeding back here at the moment. Like,
not a chance. Like.
Shocking. Like I think it's definitely worth bearing in mind like how bad it is under Mick. Like in going back to the games, like it's a tough watch. Like even if we do, say if you grind out a 1-0 win against Georgia at home, like I'm just seeing some of the comments here about that mixed performances and stuff. Yeah, it is worth bearing in mind that it's like that Serbia game during the week was probably our best performance in a good under Kenny anyway, and that would have been a great match to have been at. Like just in terms of watching it. Like, but
this is the thing. Like if we had gone out and won this game 1 or 2 playing like that, like after that Serbia performance, it would have been completely different. But at the end of the day, we didn't like. And I, for one, never complained about the football when we were winning games and going to the Euros. Like, and I've always been at the going that I don't give a shit how we play if we're getting results. But I do understand that, like as a football person, like I do, it's not going to change. Like if we don't start changing, trying to play good football and starts from the bottom up. Like we can see there when people saying in comments, like the way people are trained to play and stuff like that. Like the whole culture around Irish football is it's just not right. Like, and I think it's finally starting to it's going to change for a positive way, and hopefully it starts to come to fruit in the next couple of years. But at the end of the day, like for people of our age, and I'd say a lot of our fans are kind of our age, like we haven't seen a World Cup, and it's on the night of this result is just an absolute dagger in the heart. Like it's so devastating to watch. Like
no, absolutely. Really, really tough night. Don't really know what else. I'm looking through a lot of the comments, and it's not much really to say on it. It's just really, really difficult night, and it's annoying as well because there's no matches till September now, so it's like the Qatar game's obviously a dead one. Like so, it's just about like such a long way till we can put it right again.
Completely different season. Like you don't even know who's going to be fit, who's going to be whatever. Like
that could probably work in our favour, to be honest, a little bit actually.
Yeah.
If the FAI is to do anything right now, they must start from the absolute start. And if tonight doesn't scream invest in the National League, then I don't know what does. Invest in structures, stadiums, training grounds, invest in the clubs to play a certain way that leads to the national team, invest in youth properly at underage level. Kenny is doing absolutely everything to try and play the right way and get results. He's the right man for the job, but what can he do in a bad system does not deserve any hate his way.
Yeah, I think that's important as well. Like you're going to hear so much noise and a fair bit of shy talk like the next week or so about his future and stuff like that, and like everyone will have their opinions, but I just thought this tweet was interesting. I just saw this evening, sack Kenny, back Kenny, it doesn't really matter. Irish football was allowed to die under a celebrity CEO over the last 20 years, and this is the result. You reap what you sow. Not to keep going back in it, but like maybe tonight is just a little bit of a reality check.
100%.
Yeah,
I think that point.
There's a comment back there. It said about investing in our own leagues, and then there's another one saying like about hosting the 2030 or whatever. The World Cup. I don't even know. My head's gone with this result. But anyway, we should. I think that whole campaign to kind of host a big tournament is a load of it's complete. Like we need to invest in our own league and our own clubs, develop the players, and I think that's kind of they usually do that around like when stuff kind of hits the fan. They're kind of like, oh, we'll just push something out there to kind of get the Irish fans' hopes up that maybe they'll see them. Like imagine hosting a tournament and all that rubbish.
The
2030 thing is just the English could host the World Cup tomorrow by themselves if they really want to, but no one likes them. That's the reality of it, and people like us and Wales. I think it's a better selling point for them to say, "Oh, look, we've got Ireland, our traditional kind of foe, and we've there's been peace here, and we can get it." And it's a great selling point for them. Like realistically, this isn't about us; it's about them. But I think that point about the academies and stuff is bang on. Like that's the reality. I mean, in Ireland, not just in football, but a lot of the time we're very quick to say, oh, the Brits are terrible, the English are awful, blah, blah, blah. But we're more than happy to pass responsibility onto them to develop our young footballers to previously, I suppose, not to get political about it, but to like look after the women of Ireland and stuff. And this is it. We're more than happy to pass the book to someone else and then turn around sections of the society, then turn around in points like this and go, how is this happening? Well, because we haven't done anything for 20, 30 years. What do you expect?
Yeah, for sure. Double bad night for you, Breen, with the Bows results. I've just seen a comment here. Griff gone missing after Bows bottled a 2-goal lead. Any quick comments on that one?
Yeah, it's just, listen, it is early season, so I'm willing to kind of say haven't quite got going, but I mean the first half they were excellent, and then game should have been wrapped up at halftime, should have been 3 or 4-0 up, hit the post, and then as soon as they hit the post, you could just feel in themselves, the mentality kind of changed a little bit. They got a little bit not scared, I suppose, but just a little bit wary, dropped off a little bit, and then conceded, 2 poor goals. Bashinaire giving away the ball in a bad area. Good finish in fairness, but then second goal's terrible. But it is early season, but I think they're going to have to get it together quite quickly if they want to be taken seriously as title challengers. But I mean, like Dundalk lost yesterday. I mean,
really weird season. Yeah,
I think it's going to be a bit of a strange season.
Yeah, for sure. Seen a comment here, going nowhere under Kenny. It's not progress, and losing becomes a habit, especially in international football. Which I think is probably, I don't know. It's going to be so many different opinions.
It's a weird one because it's like if we did get a result tonight, the atmosphere would be completely different. Like especially after the Serbia performance, because we did look good, but now looking back at it, it's like, geez, maybe they just had a really bad off day and we're just really bad. Like this.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just such a tough one to take. I don't know.
Yeah. I think me personally,
I can see the sides of both arguments. Like I'd say I'll probably lean more on the keeping there. I think there is positive changes made, but if you can't see both sides of the argument, why he might be sacked and why he might stay, I think you don't really understand what's going on. Like,
yeah, for sure. And you don't have anything else to add? Pretty much covered everything, I think.
Yeah, I think I'll be better spoken like in a few days. Like my overriding emotion now is just sadness and just a bit of anger, but just like any 5% slim chance we had of nicking second in the group is just gone now. Like so, roll on Germany 24.
There's still time to get into Copa America this summer. We can still do it.
I think it's a good note to end on. Actually, is Bush asking if Socko splashed the cash on Harp's top yet. Socko,
not a good time. Not a good time.
We'll have a chat about it on Monday. Make sure he has a receipt there. But, lads, nice one. Thanks for joining me after that. Nice one. Yeah, really didn't enjoy it. Really did enjoy your company. But if you want to cheer us up ever so slightly, do drop a like on the stream. It does mean a lot. And if you can subscribe as well, it's much appreciated. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch us in the next one.